Welcome to the second season of Consulting Leaders Unscripted. I think the first season was a lot about personal stories, successes, and this I think is going to be about disruption, what's really new, how do we make a difference in the real world as consultants, as leaders. So Kumar, thank you for joining us on the first episode of the second season. You and I have worked a lot in the past year. It's been great working with you. So Kumar, you've got a really diverse background. You've been in industry, you've been in consulting, you've done very different types of projects across both spheres. So tell us a bit about your journey and how has it been?
First of all, pleasure to be part of this conversation, MK. And as you rightly said, it's been great working with you. Just a bit of a background for me as well. By qualification, I'm a management graduate. And my formative years were with GE and Jekis, where I spent my time in core F&A operations. And when it migrated to Genpact, I was part of the transition and did multiple leadership roles within finance, including handling the transition between the two CEOs that was happening at that point in time. That was my 12 years of journey with Jekis Genpact, and that's where EY happened to me. I was a client to EY at one point in time, and that gave a flavor of how consulting kind of nature gives a kick to my profession. And
Fantastic. You must have loved EY as a client. That's why you joined, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's great to hear that. So how's it been in the consulting environment? Obviously, we are more flattish, less rules, and lots of different areas to work on. So how's it been, Ray?
No, if I reflect back, and probably that was one of the fundamental reasons why I chose a career in consulting. I think what it really helped was the amount of open thinking that you need to do to solve the journey from vagueness to a structured thinking, right? I think that's where, as clients, I also realized that sometimes our requirement, we were not clear ourselves. And that's where consultants help us in structuring our requirement based on which the outcome can be delivered. So I think that part and journey of vagueness to a structured thinking is what I liked about consulting. I think if we reflect back upon my own experience of it, I think having done 12 years of my early formative years in core F&A processes, right from AP to AR to FP&A to business planning and strategy, I think that last mile connectivity that I spoke about, that digitalization often tends to miss out. That exposure has given me a lot of impetus in my consulting career. And the client that we have gone and we have worked back over the last decade or so, I think that has given me a strong advantage of how our approach or our thinking to our clients have made a little bit of a difference. So I would say that's the two starking difference. But yes, as I said, the movement from or the transition from operations to consulting was not an easy one. But yes, I'm loving what I'm doing.
I think, the finance function, as you spoke, you've got a fair degree of experience around that. So disruption is around everywhere. The last 6 months, we've heard about AI and how it's disrupting the whole way we think and we do work. So how is that impacting the finance function, and how is it impacting your solutions as you take them to clients to make a better operating function or a better systems?
So MK, I think that's perhaps one of the most, I would say, defining moments in our function per se, right? And 3 dimensions, I would say. Dimension number 1, the definition of finance itself is emerging. If you go back, even 5 years back, finance transformation typically included AP, AR, P2P, and R2R, right? Now, with the role of CFO changing itself, the wider ambit of niche areas of tax, treasury, investor relations, compliance is also embedded. So one is how the finance definition itself is emerging. With that emergence, I think AI has caused the biggest disruption that we see. And as I referred to in my conversation earlier, I think the last mile connectivity that we spoke about has always been the thorn in the flesh for any transformation that happens. Agentic and AI is addressing that last mile connectivity, and that is what is giving a lot of conversation. And when we are having the client's conversation, I think that is the biggest element that is being talked about.
Right.
So one, the entire ambit of connected enterprise and all the functions within finance, that's changing. And number two, the disruption and the last mile connectivity we spoke about. I think it's not only what clients are expecting, but it is also how we are delivering is also changing. For example, traditional consulting engagement starts off with, let's say, a diagnosis as an example, right? Today with technologies that we are doing, let's say, for example, AI with PI is typically what we call the entire diagnostics is now digitalized and AI driven. So the amount of effort that is being spent on the bottlenecks or inefficiencies in the processes, the outcomes that needs to be driven from to journey is all enabled through AI. That is delivering one, the speed of delivery.
Right.
And also, rather than being a subjective, the entire discussion moves to an objective one to say data backed, this is what the data backed is. So I think from a disruption perspective, it is one, the definition of finance transformation in itself. AI is playing a very large part of this whole piece. And the third piece is how we are also delivering our engagements with the client.
So, if I was to say, and I'm sure some clients will be listening to this as well, how fast can we go and do a diagnostic and come up with the key remediation points for a client in today's world?
Right. MK, to be honest, I think that the time that as we are seeing, right, typically we used to take about 6 to 8 weeks subjectively. I think the biggest time that is required for us to integrate the systems, for example, right, that takes about a week or two to get that infrastructure into the client systems, and another 2 weeks. So 4 weeks is what we typically see. However, from an innovation standpoint, what we believe is if we get the right structural data,
right,
we take the data offline and feed into the systems, and that can happen in less than 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks time frame, 2 to 3 weeks time frame, we can have the assessment done, and another 1 week or so to synthesize the information, frame the problem statement, and come up with a transformation approach. So in and all, a 4-week time frame is what we are talking about. 3 to 4 week of a time frame is what we are able to diagnose the problem areas that we need to be addressed from a transformation perspective.
And tell me that, often we have issues around book closing. Fast closes is a key thing that we go with. Then there is a perennial problem with reconciliations. I mean, no matter how sophisticated an organization, an Excel reconciliation always pops up. Then there is multiple systems which don't talk to each other. Then there is information sitting on desktops, which you need to access. How is AI going to solve all this? Can it really do it? Or are we talking about two, things far more futuristic and up in the air sometimes? So what's the real deal?
The reality is finance has been on the verge of a continuous transformation. You talk about GST, you talk about IFRS rollouts, RPT, etc. So if you look at a span of about 3-4 years hence, or 3-4 years ago, they have been on a constant upheaval of change. So somewhere it's also about fatigue as well, right? But what the real trend and real agenda for the CFOs is the fatigue of doing a particular initiative but not getting confidence on the overall outcome. And that's the fatigue that no one is talking about, but that's the underlying risk that is happening. In our view, from EY standpoint of view, I think the core problem is addressing the confidence level in the operating model. And that is where, if you go back to good old days, we always used to talk about the GE way of working. I'm coming in from GE, I always reflect to that to say, my processes work at 6 Sigma, as an example. Now, 6 Sigma was not a metric. It was the confidence that we had that my processes are working well. So what we are approaching, and that's where the transformation is also changing, is to say now, what is the confidence level in the operating model that we have? Typically, we talk about people, process, technology. Today, operating model, we are extended that to say what data is required and how the outcomes is influenced. So the operating model itself is now a 6-element capability: people, process, technology, data, analytics, and the performance outcomes or the process outcomes that is being delivered.
Awesome. And one fun thing about AI?
The art of possible. You can do anything with AI.
And so tell me about EY. One thing that's been very exciting for you in EY.
And there are many, I would say, but I think the freedom that EY gives in terms of doing the right thing for the client, bringing in the right competencies, collaborating with the client. I think these are some of the traits that, yes, most of the organizations talk about.
Do you have any hobbies, and are you able to fulfill your hobbies in consulting? I must ask you that.
I am a fanatic bike rider. I have a bike, and I do also love horse riding. I do go for horse riding over the weekends. And as you would have expected, coming in from a Bengali culture, music and reading goes hand to hand to us,
sure,
right? So all my travel time I do fanatic reading. And that's where I spend most of the time.
And one advice you would give to the youngsters joining the consulting world in times of AI?
And I think the advice I would give, and that's something that we have done all throughout, is you always have to stay ahead of the curve.
Right.
I think with all this youngsters coming into play, I think investment in yourselves to continuously upgrade yourself is the key.
Thank you, Kumar. And Kumar, I know we work together. Again, Kumar's phenomenal. He's got one of the best temperaments that I've known of in the most craziest, toughest situations. So thank you, Kumar, for this session, and wish you all the very best. And of course, we'll keep working together as well.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you.